and resources on things that will better the world. So that's really the ultimate goal here.
Well, I admire your intentions. I think, like I said, it's already been proved for centuries. So
and resources
I think history
on
shows
things that will better
that's
the
not going
world.
to happen.
So
They're
that's
going to
really the
reject it
ultimate
no
goal
matter
here.
what. In fact, they've already come up with some
Well, I
crazy
admire
ideas
your
as to why,
intentions.
even if they saw the 24-hour
I think,
sun, it'd still be
like
flat.
I said, it's already been proved for centuries.
That's what makes it so amusing for people
I
like
think
me, of course.
history shows
That's
that
how we
that's
get
not gonna
content
happen.
forever.
So
Yeah.
that's really
But I admire your intention. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think people with the torrents of information you get these days, they're overwhelmed with information, and the fact that there are any moon landing deniers. People like me grew up with the moon landings. We watched it as kids on TV, and we could even see it through telescopes ourselves when it was happening. We didn't need NASA to prove that happened. And yet today, the kids who didn't experience any of that, in fact, they're getting to the second generation, grandkids of people like me. They just assume that the government is running this massive conspiracy to hide, the moon landing was all a conspiracy and all that sort of thing. The government doesn't help by being open and transparent, of course, and that's what leads to that conspiratorial mind. And I think that does waste a lot of society's time, because we have to deal with re-educating people who should have known better in the first place. And I think that's what you're getting at. But I think Jesus said that the poor will always be with us, and he was correct. 2,000 years later, they still are, and I think it's the same for the stupid. There will always be stupid and gullible people. And I don't mean that as an insult, because not everyone has the knowledge. Even if they have the intelligence, they don't necessarily have the knowledge to figure it out for themselves. That's something our society will always have to deal with, no matter how much information or proof we have.
Yeah, I agree with you there. In that context, ignorance is definitely not bliss.
Well, it can be in some situations. I was in bliss before I met flat earthers, and now they're around. But now I've decided to make fun of them instead. But hey, that's just me. You don't have to, and you seem to be going out of your way not to make fun of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to create something that's going to be unbiased. It's going to be fair. It's going to have both sides working together. As far as I can tell, something like this has never been done before. So I'm very excited about it.
So, like I said, from my point of view, this has been settled for centuries. What makes this particular experiment the final experiment?
Yeah, so the important part is that other experiments that have been done, they're disregarded by one side or the other, okay? So if the globe side does something and, they provide evidence, then, the flat earth side just disregards it. Let's say there's, photo evidence or video evidence presented by the globe side. The flat earth side will say things like, it's CGI or a fisheye lens or a doctored video. And then if the, flat earth side does an experiment, the globe side will take issues with their results, whether it's, laser.
Pointing out the obvious flaws, you mean? Yeah.
Lasers over water, claiming they saw things that should not be able to be seen. And the globe side will say things like, you're not taking into account refraction and things of that nature. And so those types of experiments are not really getting anyone anywhere. And so what I wanted to do with the final experiment is I wanted to say, okay, let's agree on something ahead of time. Let's not wait until we see the results and then decide if we're going to accept it or not. Let's agree ahead of time as to what the experiment is and what the results mean. And I spent dozens of hours combing through videos from flat earthers, videos from globe earthers, and I finally found something that will work, which is the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And so the flat earth side has said over and over and over and over and over again that the 24-hour sun does not work, cannot happen on a flat earth. And you've got the globe side saying the 24-hour sun only works on a globe. And so we have agreement ahead of time as to what the results mean. And so when we go to Antarctica, if there's a 24-hour sun, it means we live on a globe. If there's not, then it means we do not live on a globe and we live on a flat plane. And so that is what's going to make this experiment different, is this agreement ahead of time. But I'm also monitoring to see if one side or the other, flat or globe, is going to start to change their position now that we're actually going to test it, and change their position out of fear as to what we will observe in Antarctica this December.
Yeah, well, good luck with that is my response. And I don't mean that rudely, but we've seen in the Beyond the Curve, we saw both Bob and Jaron do experiments that they said would prove it one way or the other, and it proved it was curved or rotating in Bob's case. And I remember seeing they had a bunch of flat earthers surrounding Mark Sargent, and they designed an experiment to send a boat out, and they had on it a board which had different colors on it, and they sent it out as far as they could, and they saw it disappearing bottom up, and the colors would indicate how much. And they said, oh no, it doesn't mean it's curved. So they just deny the results of their own experiment. So I can't imagine that the same thing won't happen in this situation. But good on you for trying. It's worthwhile trying to get them there. But unfortunately, that's been a bit of a problem. It's what's at the moment? It's 0-5. 0 flat earthers are going, and 5 sane people are going.
Yeah, let me explain our scoreboard. There's a little bit of confusion. So we keep a live scoreboard on our website, which is thefinalexperiment.com, except for there's hyphens between the 3 words. So the-final-experiment.com. We're keeping a scoreboard of how many of the 24 participants that we invited on the flat earth side and the 24 participants we invited on the globe side are actually going to participate in the final experiment. Now, participating does not mean you have to go to Antarctica, because then everybody could have an easy excuse of, I don't want to go, or I can't go, or I can't afford it. We made participating in the final experiment super easy. You can join us in Antarctica, which would be great. The more the merrier. But if you don't want to, you can do one of 2 things. You can interview me, just like we're doing here. Interview me on your channel, and we can talk about the final experiment. We can have a conversation about it. We can get questions answered, etc. Or if you're like, you know what, I really don't want to interview a glober on my channel, we made a way for you to get on the scoreboard that way. If you don't want to do that, which is all you have to do, is make a suggestion which will make the final experiment a more robust experiment. What will make it a better experiment, a stronger experiment? And the purpose of that is that we are giving everyone the opportunity ahead of time to tell us exactly what they want us to do, so that after the fact, they're not going to say, well, you didn't do this, or you did that wrong, or you should have done this instead. So what we're trying to do is trying to head off potential excuses ahead of time. And we're giving people 6 months notice to either interview me, make a suggestion which will make the experiment better while we are there, or they can also, crowdfund or get ready and sign up to go to Antarctica themselves. So the current score is 5-0, which means 5 of the 24 Globe Earth participants that I personally invited to participate in the final experiment have participated, and 0 have participated on the flat earth side. And it's going to be interesting to see what the score is come December.
Yeah, I'm sharing it right now. I don't know if you can see that, but yes. So you have to be one of those original 48 to get onto the board?
To get onto this scoreboard, yes. But we're updating our website. It should be updated here in the next couple of days. We are going to add an interviews tab, and we're going to add interviews like this one. And we're going to keep score of how many globe earthers interview me about the final experiment and how many flat earthers interview me on the final experiment. It's going to be kind of a bonus scoreboard that we will keep on our website.
Okay, cool. So I'm on that with that scoreboard now.
You will be. That's right.
Awesome. Where is it? We had a question in the chat from Rockin' Robbins 13. Do you have flat earther agreement that 24-hour sun can't exist south of the Antarctic Circle?
Yes, we do. So let me just go through a list of flat earthers who have said this publicly. Number 1, we've got Flat Earth Dave. So David Weiss has said this multiple times. Austin WItsit has said it. Austin WItsit just said recently that he's said it hundreds of times. I haven't heard that, but that's what he said, so I trust him on that. Jaron Campanella of Jaronism, he has said it. Nathan Oakley has said that there is no 24-hour sun in the south on a flat earth. I don't think he likes that I found that he said that, but he has, and it's in our video called The Final Experiment. What is the experiment? And then Dean Odell. Dean Odell is the pastor who debated Greg Locke at the end of last year. And he actually challenged Greg Locke to go with him to Antarctica for a week in the southern summer. And he said, if the sun does a circle around our heads, we live on a globe. And so the flat earth side has made very strong statements concerning the 24-hour sun. And so I would hope that they believe what they're saying and that they're not lying. If they believe what they're saying and they actually believe there is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica, this is the single greatest opportunity ever presented to them to disprove the globe. Because I can tell you that the globe side, my position is I will abandon the globe if there's not a 24-hour sun in Antarctica in December. That's how confident I am in my position. So let's see how confident the flat earthers are in theirs.
I will back that up, actually. If you see the sun set in Antarctica in December, I'll do the same. I'll become a flatty, because that's disproving. And that's I think maybe all of our globers should say the same thing, because we're about evidence. If we can get evidence for something, that we make our opinions based on the evidence, not the other way around, which we believe the flat earthers do. So where was I going to go with that? There was someone raised something I was going to raise with you, but it's escaped my mind. I'm getting old. No, all right, we'll move on to the next question then. I've forgotten. Sorry about that. Oh, I hate it when that happens. So Dave Weiss, I guess, or Weiss it should be if he's pronouncing it the German way.
How's it going? Hey, give me 1 second. I need to go grab some water. I'll be right back. Okay. All right.
Well, you get
So
you get to see me live as a real person.
yeah,
So
great.
I don't let anyone actually see me on this side. This is like the fun side of things.
Okay, great.
All right, so let me just go record, make sure it's everything's working here before I go. We've got a couple of questions for you. I'm just watching your great interview with our other resident.
Recording in progress.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I accidentally scheduled 2 interviews in the same day. I only
know.
try to do 1 a day. So
That's fine. Is it recording? Okay, good.
yeah,
Good. All right, let me go turn my camera off. There we go. All right, let me go to, and you are on screen. Okay. So, g'day to Will Duffy, Pastor Will Duffy. So, first question to you is, what's the difference between a pastor and a priest, Will, if I may?
yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people are seemingly confused on that and trying to. A lot of people are calling me a priest as opposed to a pastor. Priests are more associated with the Catholic Church, and pastors is a term more associated with the Protestant Church. So that's going to be your biggest difference there.
Mm-hmm.
I pastor a non-denominational Protestant church.
Right. Cool. Let me just go rename my mum. There you go. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, and pastors and some priests, depending on the denomination, can get married as well. Is that correct? You're married.
I am married. Yes.
I just found that confusing. Anyway, so there's a bit of that. Let me elucidate, if I may, a little about why I got into this. Because I set this channel up, MyMum BakesCakes. If you could refer me to that, that'd be great, because it really annoys the flat earthers because they can't pin me down to anything.
I see.
Um, so I set that up for my mother, who actually does bake cakes. And I thought, do a channel on her making cakes, doing some recipes, etc. Monetize it, blah blah blah. And along the way, doing searches many years ago, there's a feed that comes up from Cool Hard Logic, and it was about flat Earth. I'm thinking, are you serious? There are people out there that believe the flat Earth. I mean, that was like, it's crazy. So I started watching that, and then I started seeing other people do flat Earth debunking. I'm thinking, it's 2020, 21, 22, no, it's 2024, and there's still people out there that think the Earth is flat. And I'm thinking, hang on, I live down under, and surprising to me and probably to you is that there are a few down under that believe the Earth is flat. I'm thinking, that's insane. What do you think? What do you think about that? I think we've got Ross. We had Mitchell from the down under from Australia, and we had Lindsay from New Zealand. He's hilarious.
Yeah. I've been thinking recently, if we live on a globe, then it's proper to refer to you guys as down under. But if we don't live on a globe, if the Earth is flat, I think we should start referring to you guys as out yonder.
You're out yonkers, maybe. So, yes, yeah. I mean, that's true. Yeah, but I just find it hard to comprehend how any Australian or New Zealander it can be, a flurf. And then we've got Flatside from, I think he lives in South Africa or South America or something like that. And it can see the Southern Cross. So I don't understand why he's a flurf. It's weird.
Yeah, I do find that people from Australia and New Zealand seem to be more up on Antarctica.
Yeah.
And so Antarctica is going to be the main battleground, if you will, this December on our experiment, Flat Earth versus a Globe, to see whether or not there is a 24-hour sun.
Wow. And like my brother, I mentioned this in comments, he's actually went and lived and worked there for 6 months. He was an electrician there, and so he'd been there. They sent me photos, and from that 6 months work, he actually bought a house. So people actually go there.
Good for him. That's great.
And I think one thing I want to point out is the airline company that you're using, ALE, right? Arctic
Yes.
Expeditions. Now, one of the things, and you probably find this as well, is that flat earthers, or flirts, I like to call them, and I like to be derogatory because they really are some of the stupidest people out there. They don't do their own research, and like you did, you went through so many companies, so many organizations to figure out how am I, Will Duffy, going to get myself and possibly some other people going to Antarctica. And you went looking for ships, right? We know there's a boat race that goes around Antarctica, or flat earthers think it's not, but that's another story. Or they think they go at different speeds. There's yachts that can go there, there's cruise ships that can go there. I've looked online for myself, there's Antarctic flights that fly over it, and I think our resident critical think has been over it with Greater Sapien, another flat earth debunker. So we've actually gone out and done our own experiments on this type of thing, and they've flown over it. But you're the first person I've come across who actually found a company that actually flies directly into the heart of Antarctica.
Yeah, I was surprised when I started looking into this because I learned about Antarctica from flat earthers. I will give them credit for that. I didn't really know much about it. and I start to learn all these different things, or at least I should say, hear all these different things about how, the Antarctic Treaty, how, if you want to go to Antarctica, you can only go to the tip of a peninsula. You can't go below, say, 60 degrees south. And so I really did believe all of that. I heard enough of them say it. I was like, okay, there's got to be some truth to this. And so when I came up with the idea for the final experiment and knew we needed to get to Antarctica, I was like, okay, how are we going to get there? What are the different organizations and the companies that can get us there? And when I started looking into it, I actually quickly got overwhelmed. I found at least a dozen different companies that take tourists to Antarctica. And so I actually had to spreadsheet it and figure out, are they going there by a boat? Are they going there by a plane? Where do they go? How far south do they go? Are they getting there from, South America, or are they getting there from Australia or New Zealand or even Africa? And so it was actually pretty encouraging to have a lot of different options. And I ended up choosing ALE, and Antarctic Logistics and Expeditions, for a bunch of reasons, but one of them is they offer a ton of trips. They offer flights. Flights you're going to get further south, and they have a camp called Union Glacier, which is right at 80 degrees south. That is very, very far south. And because we're going to see whether or not there's a 24-hour sun, the further south we go, the better. So that's how I chose ALE, and they are a fantastic company. If anybody ever is interested at some point in your life in going to Antarctica, definitely look them up and see what their options are.
And with that, though, I mean, flat earthers, when you mentioned about Antarctica, and because down under, we can actually, Tasmania is really close. That's where they launched from. When my brother went to do his training or his orientation and training and acclimatization to go to Antarctica during the summer. So we know people that actually go there, right? And they go, oh, only scientists, the military are going, hang on, but you're just saying people can't go over the ice wall. And thinking the two don't congeal or meet up, because if planes can go over the ice wall, then why can't we? What do you think about this ice wall idea?
There's pictures of, very tall ice wall looking features and structures in Antarctica.
Yep.
But I just don't personally think that is what it is all the way around.
Right.
One of the biggest differences from the flat Earth model and the globe model is actually the size of Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the globe model, with it being a sphere and Antarctica being, for lack of a better term, at the bottom of the sphere, it's going to be relatively small compared to other land masses on the globe. But on the flat Earth model, it essentially encompasses all of the other continents in the world. And so it is much, 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 much bigger in the flat Earth model. It has to be. And so that's an interesting difference that people need to consider. And so I've seen pictures of ice cliffs, and I've seen a little bit of video, but nothing that would convince me that it's that way all the way around a hypothetical flat Earth.
And you mentioned land masses there, Will. Now, one of the excuses they go, oh, they're hiding, more land, or they're doing this, or they're hiding this, or whatever, hiding God for another particular reason. But one of the things that make me laugh is like they'll actually cite the guy, Admiral Burns, or I think his name is Bird, sorry, who actually went down there to Antarctica. But they never go to the second step. Is like, how did he get there? He flew. He's actually got a plane. He went over there to. They don't go to that next step, even though he's ex-military. I mean, he's military. They don't seem to be able to ask the next question. Is like, how did he get there? Because if he can get there, other people can't, right?
Yeah, this idea of more land, I think, is part of the appeal to flat Earth. I mean, I think we can all relate to some extent of the excitement behind some undiscovered and unexplored territories. I mean, on the globe side, we're constantly looking for, life outside of the planet. So, extraterrestrial life in outer space. And so I think we can all relate to that. And I think that is part of the appeal. But, we need to first determine, is Antarctica an ice wall around all of the continents on the Earth as we know it, or is it not? Because if it's not, if it's more like an island, which is more accurate on the globe model, if it's more like an island at the bottom of the globe, then we know that that's not the case.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, more land. Another excuse is there just seems to like an endless stream of excuses from the flat Earth side, and you're seeing this right now. You've just mentioned that. Watching, I've watched all your videos already. We also already know some of the things you said about Dave Weiss, the guy who came up with the app for his and calling you those things and thinking, hang on, Will Duffy's a pastor. Why is he? No, that's just not. No, I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, to be honest with you, one of the reasons I came up with the final experiment is because I think a lot of time is wasted in these debates. And I think there's much better things we all can do with our time and our resources and our brain power than debating the shape of the Earth. And so my goal with the final experiment is to kind of put this issue to bed one way or the other. I'm totally fine publicly stating that if we go to Antarctica and the sun sets and there isn't a 24-hour sun, more than happy to say that we don't live on a globe, we live on a flat plane, and then we can move forward from there. Hopefully, the other side will be willing to say that as well.
Well, I'm going to back that up as well. I'm sure a lot of other. I know that you and many other globers you've interviewed have said a similar thing. If you go down there and there's no 24-hour sun, I will delete this channel. Right? That's how
Wow.
confident I am.
That's yeah, that's great. That does show your confidence, and I appreciate you saying that. This is what we need. We need people that are confident in their position, and we need people that are willing to test their position, and we need people that are willing to admit when they're wrong. If we all do that together, this will be a success.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another uh, um, tick for me. I mean, I do this for fun. I'm not paid by NASA. I don't have that many subscribers. I don't have that many views on my videos, for sure. I sent you the video of the God Made Earth. Have you seen that one? The short video.
I, I did watch that. Yeah, that was comical. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, like I've seen Lindsay's videos, and he's a crack up. He's just so even the other flat earthers don't think he's quite there. Um, so yeah, one of the excuses about and I sort of understand why they go to these extremes because it's the flat earth is so ridiculous that if they can believe this, they can believe anything. And they don't really question the logic. I know WItsit can do a lot of word salad and confuse a lot of people because your interview with him and Jeranism or Jism was absolutely fantastic and well done. Congratulations to that one. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I enjoyed it. I wanted to bring some new arguments to the table,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a good conversation had by all.
So like like us Globers will say, hang on. I mean, I live in down under. I live near the beach, and I've seen the sunset. And thinking, hang on, how does that work on a flat Earth? And then I look up at the sky and I see the sun and the moon in the same sky at the same time. Thinking, how does that work on a flat Earth? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the big one for me with the moon is the moon
Yeah.
phases. When I look at the moon, it's very clear that it's being lit up
Hmm.
by the sun and that it is in the shape of a sphere. And when you have that, which I did try to show in that discussion with Austin and Jaron,
Yeah.
it's a perfectly rational, logical explanation for moon phases. But unfortunately, once you go flat Earth, which again would be probably the biggest cover up in the history of the world, anything else is going to be easy to set aside and think is a conspiracy.
Yep.
And because flat Earth would be the biggest cover up in the history of the world, that's what makes the final experiment so important.
Yep.
If they really do believe this cover up, then let's just go to Antarctica and expose the cover up, because that would expose it.
Yep.
A globe, a sphere tilted at around 23.5 degrees demands a 24-hour sun during the southern summer. It demands it. And so let's go there. And if it's not there, then let's expose this cover up. I'm game.
And like a lot of the flat earth side live in northern places like America, Europe, England, etc. And again, we've got they can see Polaris, which I can't see from here. We got the Southern Cross, which is on our flag, right, and New Zealand flag. So we can't see Polaris. The other thing is like they've got the same 24-hour sun over the Arctic. Right? They just haven't got any buildings there.
Yeah, that's right. Now, in fairness to the flat Earth model, they can account for that. So in the northern summer, so around June, they on their model, the sun is, closer to the North Pole, doing, tighter circles around the North Pole. And that's where the 24-hour sun comes into play in their model, which is why we have to go to Antarctica, because that does not work in the south in their model, because the south on the globe is very similar to the north in terms of size, but it's very, very different on the flat Earth model.
Yeah, and I think I've seen who was it, Taboo or one of the guys talking about, oh, there should be the same kind of animals in north and south. And I'm thinking that doesn't work. I mean penguins sure, but polar bears no.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some crazy ideas out there.
Yeah, the geography is very different. The North Pole is actually in water.
Yeah,
And Antarctica is
a landmass.
ice in a landmass. So very different climates.
The another thing they go on about in regards, even before we get into NASA, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is in regard to the equator. I mean, they go, the equator moves at 1,000 miles per hour. I'm thinking, okay, and I looked it up. So okay, sure that moves. That sounds fast, right? But it's really not. When you go, I think we've got a big bloody planet, right? And then I go, hang on, if the equator is moving 1,000 miles per hour, why? Well, why would there be an equator? Why would there even be a need for an equator on a flat Earth? It doesn't make any sense. Or even
Yeah.
what would the speed be? And I put this question to you, and because I don't know what the speed would be if the equator moves at 1,000 miles per hour on a flat Earth. What would the speed be on the ice wall or the rim of that imaginary ice wall? You know.
Yeah, I think I think most flat earthers believe the Earth is stationary and not moving.
Hmm.
And so the star movement and the movement of the sun and the moon are all what's moving in their model.
Right.
In terms of the 1,000 miles per hour, yes, that sounds fast, but when you start talking about speed, the bigger the thing is that's moving,
Yep.
the less it's noticeable. And it's really, a lot of flat earthers argue that we don't feel it, we don't feel the speed, which I think is a poor argument.
Yep.
You feel acceleration and you feel deceleration, whether you're in a car, whether you're in a plane or whatever. But if something is moving at a consistent speed, even very fast, say a plane at 500 or 600 miles per hour, if there's no banking or slowing down or accelerating, you can fall asleep on a plane. You can have a glass of water filled to the brim that doesn't tip over, that doesn't spill. So the idea that it's moving at 1,000 miles per hour is not that significant because of the size and because of the continuous speed. And so it's, I think, a little bit better and easier to understand that it's one rotation every 24 hours. And if you were to turn anything to get one rotation in 24 hours, you'd be turning it pretty slow.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is they have difficulty understanding three-dimensional concepts. That's why they live on a flat plane, apparently. So yeah, and that leads me into why they keep blaming NASA for everything. I'm thinking NASA has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, nor does any other space agency. But they really harp on about NASA. Oh, then NASA's lying, and they give you all these other excuses. And I've seen on the level, or the level, or many of the level movies, and they just all this diatribe to excuse any kind of rational thought to excuse why they believe the Earth is flat. And I'm thinking that doesn't really define the flat Earth, because I know you and I and MC2 and everybody keep asking them, show us a model. Have you seen one yet, Will?
Not really, no. I mean, I will give them the Gleason map is the start of a model.
Yep.
At least we have Antarctica, and a shape of it, and an approximate size, knowing it's going to be way bigger than the distance around Antarctica on a globe. But yeah, I think they're still lacking definitely with the model, and it's something that they should be working on. When it comes to NASA, if there's a cover up, you got to have somebody to blame. And so NASA is a very easy target to blame for it, for all these things. They get a lot of money from the government, and so theoretically they could be using the money to cover up. But NASA is also going to be an enemy, probably public enemy number one for Flat Earth, because they are the space organization, the space administration of the United States.
And this is where the space part of it comes into, because they go to extremes of saying space is fake, or there's this firmament. And you being a pastor, you read the Bible, and the translations from, I think the best one out there is the King James Bible, but it was translated from Aramaic or Hebrew into our modern day English, and of course some words don't translate that well. I look up in the sky and it's absolutely stunning, gorgeous day out there right now. Those guys, it's gorgeous day down here. I can see the sky, and when it's night, I can see stars, and I go, great. They look like could be a firmament or like a dome up there, but I haven't actually seen one. I know a rocket's gone through it.
Yeah, once you accept the flat Earth position, there's a lot of things that have to go. You have to get rid of space. If space is real, then that's going to pose a huge problem for flat earthers, because we send rockets to space, and if they're actually going to space, they're going to take pictures, they're going to take video, and the pictures and the videos that we have show a globe. So space really has to go, and a lot of things go. Gravity's next, and they've got to get rid of gravity and affirm a firmament or a dome. So yeah, it's flat Earth is very there's a lot of things you have to accept with flat Earth. It's not as simple as just accepting flat Earth, and some people, when they get into this, are unwilling to go that far and accept all those other things.
Yeah, and I don't understand that particular. I sort of do, because they have to put in some sort of excuse to think, why NASA, or the Russians went up there first with the Sputnik. I'm a bit of a space nerd. Watch all the Star Trek videos and all that type of stuff. So I like all that the kind of futuristic kind of thing. But again, space being fake, and they just give a lot of excuses as to why the Earth can't be. We've got the ISS up there right now. I've actually seen the ISS with my naked eye. Not easy to see because it's so tiny, but I've actually seen it on the sky. My brother's got a telescope. We've seen Jupiter. All the other planets are a globe shape, or in like round. Jupiter, Mars, etc. And one of the questions that the other guy mentioned to Witness the other day was saying about Mars going across the around the sun, and we can see how the planets go around the sun. We've had the transit of Venus. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Captain Cook came down here to look at the transit of Venus because they knew when it was going to happen and where it was going to happen. So we came down this way to do that kind of experiment.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah. So that was way back in those days when they had boats and everything, and the sextant, when they brought up the sextant wheel, just made me laugh thinking, hang on, sailors have been using this tool for, millennia to figure out where they are, and yet the flat earthers think, oh, it's a proof way to demonstrate the earth is flat. I think, what?
Yeah, with the ISS, that's an interesting one. They acknowledge the ISS
Yeah.
because they've seen it with their own eyes. They've seen it with their telescopes. But they do have to deny that there's any people in it.
Yep.
They have to deny that it's an actual space station. And so the issue there is, I believe 300 different people have been on board the ISS, including a private citizen.
Yeah.
A citizen paid his way just to go on to the ISS. And so in their position, they're going to have to claim that those 300 people or so are all lying. And that's not something I'm willing to state at this point. I'm not willing to blanket call hundreds of people liars without really good evidence. And it is one of the main plays in the Flat Earth playbook is to call people liars. They're doing it to me already, and pretty much everybody is a liar at this point. So
They do, and they find that really interesting is like they just find excuses. Again, more excuses to, like yourself. You're doing this incredible experiment, the final experiment, which I seriously doubt that it will probably be the final thing that's going to convince them or to say that the Earth is still flat, because we've seen TikTok, and TikTok is a bit of bees of flat earthers out there. I don't particularly go there, but yeah. What do you think about the social media side? I mean, it's like we've let the loonies loose on the internet in regards to flat earthers.
yeah, I have an interesting opinion on this that I've never shared publicly, and it's going to be probably a little antithetical to a lot of other people. I actually think, the censorship and trying to, you know, uh, cover up ideas that are, in some people's minds objectively false. I think it's a mistake. And I could never prove this, but I actually think the censorship has led to the growth of the flat Earth community.
Right.
It's one of their main talking points, which is, hey, if this is not true, why hide it? Why censor our stuff? Why block it and all that kind of stuff? And I think that does convince people. So my position is kind of more of a free market position, which is like, just let ideas out there, let free speech out there. And I think if everything is kind of just given an equal playing field, people will be able to look at both sides and make an educated decision for themselves. We're always going to have people that believe crazy things. We're always going to have people that believe things without evidence, or even believe things that are contradictory to the evidence. But I think from a overall society standpoint, let people say what they want, and let's let people make their decision based on looking at both sides and kind of seeing what conclusion they come to.
Yeah, and you mentioned about, the flat earthers and your experiment in the Antarctica. They say, oh, there's hiding. We mentioned about the hiding more land, etc. The amount of stuff they're trying to deny just seems outlandish. And again, they'll ridicule or they'll interrupt, and a lot of they say, oh, once you go flat, you can't go back out. Well, that's not true. We've had Rachie, who's a real thorn in their side. So I hope you have an interview with her sometime. We've had STST, and we've had Dan, I can't remember his name, Tiger Dan, who was one of the first ones who realized that the Earth wasn't flat when he did research on the flights going out of here. So yeah, we've got flights that go from
Yeah.
Australia to San Diego. I've been overseas a few times already, so I've been over the equator. And have you been down here before, Will?
I have not, but it is in the plans in the next couple of years for sure.
All right. So I'm going to cut this fairly short. We've got about 5 minutes left. I've only got a 4 minute, and I've got another a Zoom meeting in another 30 minutes. But well done to you, Will. I'm sure every Glober has been saying this to you. We think it's a bloody brilliant experiment to do this and getting go out there and actually paying for a flat earther or full Earth and a Glober and Dave. He mentioned Dave's going, so I think it's a bit of a surprise to him. And I've seen all his videos. He's very good, and I'm just ashamed that his dog can't go, which is his great dog. Do you have any other final words? Final words. Final words for this final experiment. And to anyone watching, I mean, this is a tiny channel compared to the other ones you've been on. Anything you want to say to any other flat earther or anything regarding to this entire flat Earth craziness that you've been researching into?
Yeah, I would just encourage people to follow us. There's going to be a lot of things developing, and just kind of, the best place to follow us is on YouTube. If you search for The Final Experiment, we come right up. Our website has a countdown timer until we, land in Antarctica, and it keeps track of the score. It's thefinalexperiment.com, but there's hyphens between each of the words, the-final-experiment.com. And just continue to spread the word. And I will remind everybody this too. Anyone is allowed to participate. Only the 24 people we invited on each side can end up on the scoreboard. But if you want to come to Antarctica with us and pay your way, you're free to do that. Contact me and I can put you in touch with ALE and you can join us. If you want to interview me on your channel like we're doing here to talk about The Final Experiment, we'll actually put you on our website. We're adding a new section to our website this week called Interviews. We'll add you a link to the interview, a link to your channel, a link to your website if you have one. And then if you have any suggestions which will make The Final Experiment a better experiment, a more robust experiment, please send those our way. We've had dozens of ideas already, and they're all fantastic. They're things that I didn't even know existed. They're ideas that I never had. And so this is a collaborative effort. I think everybody on both sides should work together to make this the best experiment in history on the shape of the Earth, and hopefully we'll see the final experiment.
And with that, just before I go, I'd like to shout out Critical Think, who's doing a fundraising to get himself down to Antarctica. And so if you want to go visit his channel, the links are in the description. There are a lot of other videos on our side, 5-0 now. So you're going to have, I truly think he's going to have like 24-0 by the end of the year. Maybe Joe Wisdom will go. I really don't know.
Be great.
Thanks, Will, so much for the interview, and wish you all the best of the world, and hope to see you down here sometime. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.